Hey, what's up, friends? You got Gypsy back here for my week 7 match in the CFA. So this is my last match in the regular season, and you know, we've had a pretty good run so far. As I mentioned in my last upload, we've gone undefeated. So this match doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. We're guaranteed first seed in the playoffs. So but in saying that, I still wanted to have a nice clean undefeated season if possible. So I wasn't going to take this lightly, and this man has threats upon threats. So today we're going up against the Anaheim Altarias. I hope I'm not massacring that. Led by a guy called Noah, really cool guy, who in my opinion is far better than his record suggests. And this battle today is proof. He brought some really innovative stuff, and yeah, you guys will see. So so jumping into it, I'll just give a quick rundown of the team he brought, just to give you guys an understanding into why I brought the things that I did. So as I said, this guy has so many threats on his team. To start with, he has Megazard X, which, if you guys have watched my channel, watched my other videos, my CPC tourneys, you'll know that I love Zard X, and this guy is such a monster. I know really what it can do. I'm very familiar with all the different sets it can run, and just the nuisance it can be for balanced teams, and just its sweeper set can be such a struggle for offense to cope with. It's still, well, I mean, it doesn't really stand a chance in draft format with proper support. So, with Zard, going up against Zard, I was forced to run, certain things that I otherwise wouldn't have bothered to. So I'll get into that when I talk about my team. But next up we have Manaphy. So he's got the Zard Manaphy core, which, for any OU players out there, you know how good that core was. Late XY, early RS, amazing offensive core. Manaphy just breaks down Zard's checks, so they pair really well together. And Manaphy's just such a monster in the format. As you can see, like, versus my team, I do have an Among Us, I have a Rotom, but Manaphy doesn't really care. It just boosts up and uses coverage to murk those two. So Manaphy is an awesome mon in general, and really solid versus my team. Next up, we have Celebi, and Celebi is fantastic in the format, in my opinion. Far better than Shaman. Yeah, he's, look, really good mon, has access to Trick Room, Healing Wish, Leaf Storm, all that good stuff. Also poses a massive threat to my defensive checks because, I've got stuff like Rotom, Among Us, Vaporeon, Cresselia. Celebi's really solid versus my team, so that was something else I had to prepare for. It's also a nice switch into Landorus if I'm not carrying knockoff or U-turn, as it can eat up earth powers if it's especially defensive. So Celebi is really solid versus my team too, and it's got great stat distribution. Sorry. Yeah, it's just a fantastic mon versus my team in particular. Next up, he has Fortress, which is a fantastic check to physical ult. Obviously Flamethrower is still gonna destroy him, but if I am like a mono attacking ult, then we've got some problems there for sure. And it's a nice hazard deterrent for his team, and it can set up hazards on my team if I don't choose to pack default. Next up, he's got Greninja, which you can see he brought. Greninja is such a massive threat. Everyone's pretty aware of what this guy does. He can set up hazards. He can destroy me with ice coverage and dark coverage, respectively. Do a lot of damage to my team. His speed is just fantastic versus me, and yeah, that's something I really had to prepare for, because things like Landorus, like it's hard for Landorus to put in work with such a fast mon like Greninja on the opposing side. So that was something I really had to consider when building. Next up we have Noivern, which while I do have checks to it in Stunfisk and Vaporeon, I guess you could say, and Rotom, it can still do a fair amount of work. If Altaria isn't Mega Evolved, I can't switch in, and I can't switch into Specs Hurricanes anyway, so Altaria is not a switch into specs Noivern, so Noivern could be a potential issue. You know, if he predicts me with Rachi and you know tricks me or flamethrowers me on the switch in, then we could be in some trouble there. Next up, Levani is generally not too good against my team. However, Sticky Webs is annoying if I do not choose to run T-Fog. So that was something you know I did have in the back of my mind, but I didn't really think it would be too bad versus me because my team doesn't rely. My grounded mons don't really rely on their speed, apart from a Mega Evolved's Mega Altaria. So that wasn't too much of a big deal. But you know, it's always irritating to go up against Sticky Webs. Next up, Excadrill, massive threat. Mold Breaker just destroys my team with Iron Head and EQ. You know, it's a great Mega ult check because Scarf Excadrill can outspeed if it's Jolly, can outspeed Jolly +1 ult. So that's really nice for him. And I have to Mega turn 1, so I can't really play around with my pre-Mega typing there. Next up we have Mineshower, which is you know not too good because I do have a Crest. Not too good versus my team, but I can grab momentum with U-turn, and you know reckless high jump kicks do a lot of damage. But yeah, as I said, I do have Gligar and Cresselia, so I kind of like deterred him from bringing it, you know, I guess. But you know, in its own right, it's still a pretty solid mon. And next up we have Excelgor. You know, more hazard stacking, nice fast mon to outspeed. +1 Mega Altaria again, so he's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot of speed and a lot of power. And lastly, Helios, which you can see that he brought. Now, I'll just go over the team that I brought and the reasons for doing so. So first up, we have Spedef Rachi, and Spedef Rachi this week is to take on hits from Noivern. I can take a Dark Pulse from you know a max special attack Greninja. I can get a T-Wave off. I'm running T-Wave, Roost, Thunderbolt, and Hidden Power Fire. Now, Thunderbolt is to get chip damage off on the Manaphy. I don't expect T-Bolt to be doing a lot to Manaphy, but I expect it to be putting it in range for my Altaria to take it out with a Return. Or for my Lando to take it out with Earth Power, or for my Scarf Rotom to take it out with T-Bolt. As I said, Wish is there to heal up Rachi if I need to on a predicted switch out, or maybe heal up a member. Using the kind of the bulk that I do have on my team, so that's pretty nice for me there. Hidden Power Fire is to the Fortress because you know if I am physical Rachi, Fortress is a fairly decent switch-in, I guess you could say. If you know he predicts the Iron Head, something like that, and once Fortress goes down, Ult has a pretty fun time versus his team. So yeah, that is Rachi's main job this week, and you know I can take hits from the Helios, which is nice too because I didn't bring Stunfisk. There's no point bringing Stunfisk. I wanted to, and in hindsight, looking at what he brought now, it would have put in a hell of a lot of work. But Manaphy, Greninja, Celebi, Zard. I mean, Earth Power does a lot to Zard, but you know he had many reasons for me not to bring it, and you know it wasn't really worth a place on the team this week. As much as it would have been fun to end the season with it, but you know we'll see what happens in playoffs. So next up, I've got Lando, and Lando is a Scarf Lando this week. Now, like I said, you know Earth Power Lando with Light Orb just does so much damage to his team. However, Greninja is a problem. Scarf Excadrill is a problem. Noivern is a problem. Heliolisk is a problem, so you know he has a really fast team. Now the main reason I ran Scarf was to check a +1 Zard. A +1 Zard with Iron Tail can really hurt my team. Iron Tail to take on the Mega Altaria. You know Gliscor doesn't want to get burnt if he's like a Willow set. So you know what, I wanted to have an extra security check because everyone knows what a Monster Zard is, and I can't really afford to let him set up without having you know a backup plan just in case my physical checks go down. So next up we've got my Altaria, and you know predominantly I've been running defensive and specially attacking Altarias. In this match, you know I see his offense, and for those of you who don't know, Dragon Dance Altaria is amazing versus offense, provided it can find an opportunity to set up. So once I set up, I outspeed everything bar Excelgor, and I am max HP, so Excelgor can't kill me with a Sludge Bomb. Even after Rock's damage, I live a hit, so that is pretty nice for me. and Altaria can put in a fair amount of work once his steals have been weakened, or put in range to a +1 return. So next up we have Rotom, and Rotom here is a Scarf Rotom. Manaphy is a big problem. Manaphy is a big problem versus my team. As I said, it destroys my defensive walls if it runs the right coverage moves. And Scarf Rotom also gives me another nice check to Greninja, as well as Noivern. I've got Signal Beam to hit the Celebi. I'm running Volt Switch and T-Bolt, and Hydro. So Rotom can put a fair bit of work in, can catch him off guard, potentially. I have brought Scarf Rotom before, so people know that I have run it in the past. But even so, even if it predicts me to be Scarf, it still gets the job done. It still deals a lot of damage to Manaphy, and I need ways to stop Manaphy because Manaphy is a monster versus me. So the reason also for Rotom is that it pairs with Amoonguss, who I'll go into later detail about the reason why it pairs so well with it versus Manaphy. Next up we've got Gligar, who is just a standard defensive rock set. Rocks, Roost, Knockoff, EQ. I opted not to run Stealth Rocks, Defog this week, sorry, because I didn't think that he'd bring Sticky Webs versus me, honestly, because a lot of my threats don't get affected by it, my fast defensive threats, apart from Scarfarachi, which doesn't like to be slowed down, but I do have T-Wave, and I am a Spit F set anyway, so... and also I figured Stealth Rocks on his side is so much more useful because Ult can put in so much work after sashes have been broken, after mons like Zard have been whittled down a bit with Stealth Rock, and Noivern has been whittled down, which is nice. Also the Manaphy, because from a +1, a return will kill, provided he's not like a really bulky Manaphy. So Stealth Rock's really nice for me this match. And lastly, we have AV Amoonguss Max. I want to take hits for days from Manaphy, and if he sets up, I can switch in. I can Clear Smog. I'm running Clear Smog, Giga Drain, Foul Play, and Hidden Power Fire for the Fortress. And if I get a Clear Smog off, I can proceed to Giga Drain either Giga Drain the next turn, or switch out to my Scarf Rotom on the predicted Ice Beam. Use Volt Switch to switch back into Amoonguss on the Energy Ball or on the Tail Glow, and just rinse and repeat. Now, with these two mons, provided there's no crit business, I can take on the Manaphy, and the reason Scarf Rotom pairs so nicely with Amoonguss is because I can switch into the Ice Beams, even the Psychics if it's neutral. If he's +3, then obviously Psychic's going to do a ton to my Rotom, but that's the whole point of Clear Smog, just to clear away those. Once, if I lull him into a false sense of I'm just going to continue Clear Smogging, he's going to start attacking. I can take advantage of that, switch to Rotom, Volt Switch out, or T-Bolt out on an Energy Ball, and hopefully take the Manaphy out. It's also a nice check to something like a Heliolisk, because you can just tank hits all day from Heliolisk. I can even tank a Hurricane from a Noivern, so that's pretty nice. I can take hits from Greninja with relative ease. So Amoonguss was pretty solid from this match. It also allows me to take on something like a boosting Celebi if he's like Swords Dance or Nasty Plot Celebi. Obviously, if his Swords Dance is Zen Headbutt, then that's going to not be nice to switch into, and that's going to be a problem. But physical Celebi versus me is kind of bad, so I didn't really think he'd bring that. But that's always a possibility, so that's something I had to watch out for. I did have U-turn on my Scarf Landorus, which was predominantly there to take advantage of a Celebi wanting to switch in on an Earth Power. So, but as you can see, he didn't bring Celebi. So anyway, without rambling on any longer, I've been talking for ages. Let's jump into the match, guys, and see how it went, because this is definitely an exciting match for sure. So, first turn, he leads off with Greninja, and I lead off with my Landorus. Now, he's got the Scarf Tongue nickname, which is pretty. Which is kind of really smart for him, because I know Miguel does that in the GBA, and it really does just trigger your mind. Well, is he Scarf or not? And I look at his team, and I think to myself, once I take out Noivern, Landorus does so much work versus this guy. There's no point in him running like a Scarf Manaphy or a Scarf, even though Scarf Manaphy wouldn't have speed. A Scarf Heliolisk, I don't see him running that. I see Scarf Earth Power doing a lot of damage versus his team. So, on the possibility that he was somehow Scarf Greninja for some reason, which really wouldn't make much sense. I didn't want to risk it first turn, seeing as the amount of damage that Landorus does to his team. So I do just switch out here. I go into my Amoonguss, my DMT, and I eat up that Dark Pulse, and he reveals Life Orb. And at this point, I'm really happy that he does show. He gets a crit here. Kind of annoying, because it will, as you'll see later on in the match. That is kind of annoying for me, but that's okay. That's okay. I get the foul play off, predicting him to go into something like Excadrill, who reveals to be max HP, which is pretty interesting. He shows off Stealth Rock, meaning he's not Scarf set. Yeah, he's not Scarf Rocks with max HP, because that would make no sense at all. And judging by that damage, he was max HP, so that's pretty interesting. I suppose he was there to check maybe like a specially attacking Altaria, which I could definitely see. He's not taking on special attacking Landorus, so you know, he obviously had a reason for it though. So you know, I won't question it. But anyway, I just take this opportunity to set up my rocks. You know, as I said, I don't have defog, so that's something. And I just take this opportunity to knock off as he Sword Stances. Now, the reason I go for knock off, and I'm just going to stay in here and sack off Gligar. Now, this may seem ridiculous, but I cannot risk switching out on a knock off. If I switch out into Altaria on a knock off, I'm put in range of something like an Excadrill's Iron Head. I'm put in range of something like Hyper Voice, Specs Hyper Voice from Heliolisk. I need to keep my Mons at full health. I can't risk going into Jirachi. I can't risk taking a knockoff. I don't want to switch into Rotom and get murked by a Leaf Blade. Amoonguss's AV is really important, so slacking off Gligar there was, slacking off Gligar there to the Leavanny was my best play, as he's revealed to be max HP on his Excadrill, so I'm not really too scared of it, because I do have Amoonguss and Landorus to tank some hits, so that's pretty nice for me. Alright, so here I just take this opportunity to switch out with the U-turn here. So I can just freely U-turn. U-turn out on the Leavanny, take it out. If you did want to switch, I maintain momentum there with the U-turn, so it was overall my best play. And this allows me to get the nice switch into my Rotom. I do show that I don't have leftovers, so you know, he may have thought right here that you know, I was a berry of some sort, maybe like a Rindo berry for the Manaphy, which would have been a fair assumption on his part. So I just take this opportunity to switch out here to Jirachi to tank the incoming Draco, and you know, we take that easy. That was a modest specs Draco, and you know, we're eating those up all day. So right here, I just switch up because you know, I can scout what he wants to switch into, and right here I'm just gonna go for the HP Fire. I know I'm gonna live an EQ with the HP investment that I do have, considering he's not attack invested. Pretty ballsy play on my part, staying in right there, but now I stay in again, predicting him to think I was going to switch out, and I just go for the Wish, because at this point I can paralyze the Noivern, and he stays in and goes to the Shadow Ball there. Spec Shadow Ball only does 46%, so that's pretty nice for me. I take this opportunity to switch just out to my Amoonguss in an attempt to you know, maybe get some Regenerator back. I was healing more than I was doing. I was going to get more Regenerator back than I was taking from Stealth Rocks plus Shadow Ball damage. So that was pretty nice for me. And right here, the reason I wanted to switch Amoonguss in was I wanted to take out the Noivern and then switch out to something else, just so I could be at a higher health to guarantee that I could take on the Manaphy 100% with that, even if there was any hacks. However, he brings the Manaphy straight in right here. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm AV, max, so I can easily take on the Manaphy. At this range of health, at neutral, he's not got any boosts up. I can easily just Giga Drain and put myself at a range of health that will allow me to take a +3 Ice Beam or Psychic and get a clear Smog off the next turn. So at this point, you know, Giga Drain should do, if he's the standard Manaphy spread, it should do about 40%, a little over 40%. Now the reason I say the standard Manaphy spread is because I do have base 100 speed mons. I have Rachi, I have a Lando who could potentially run special attack boosting nature. I have an Altaria who can be, if I'm max speed, that's base 80 speed, which can outspeed a slow Manaphy. I have a Rotom, which can outspeed a slow Manaphy. I have many things on my team that a timid Manaphy needs speed to take on after it's boosted up, right? So that's my thinking here. You know, he has reasons to run timid. It makes sense versus running modest. But even if he is modest, that's not too big a deal because my Amoonguss can still take it on. The Giga Drain should still do a decent amount, provided he isn't heavily invested in health. And I'll be able to get enough back to take a hit, basically. From this Manaphy, even if it's a +3, allowing me to clear Smog and then switch out to my Rotom on the predicted follow-up attack. So, you know, that was my thought process at this point in the match. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yo, listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world. And all day and all night and everything he sees is just blue. Like him, inside and outside. Blue his house with the blue little window and a blue Corvette. And everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around. Cause he ain't got nobody to listen. I'm blue.
Manaphy just crit my 2 checks. Now, the reason this was so important, that damage on Amoonguss, it was revealed that he was a modest Manaphy. Now, he was actually outsped by my Jirachi, which was only minimally speed investment. I think I had like 30 speed EVs, a very small amount of speed, alright, with a careful nature, a calm nature, meaning his Manaphy was slower than my slow Jirachi. Now, this means that he has health investment, this means that he has HP investment, and this is very important because Giga Drain did not give me enough, Giga Drain did not do enough health back to the point where I would where I can take him out with a return from Altaria. Now, you know, at that point, he actually needed a maximum roll to take me out with Psychic. He needed an absolute max roll, or the crit, you know, as you saw. So, you know, in hindsight, yeah, he got the crit, but he also may not have critted. He may have got the very max roll and taken me out without the crit. But, you know, chances are he wouldn't have taken me out, and he would have actually failed to take me out, and I would have got a Giga Drain off for a clear Smog. I would have Giga Drained there, to be honest, putting him in range of an Earth Power from Lando or a return from Altaria. But, you know, it is what it is. So next up, as you saw, we went out to Rachi. Now Rachi, max speed F with a little bit of speed. I can take a +3 Shadow Ball from modest Manaphy with ease. I was at 94, so I lived. I think the max was like mid-80s, so that crit definitely mattered. And the reason it mattered was T-Wave was there to ensure that if he was a fast Rachi, I would outspeed with Altaria and I could take him out the return, which would kill him because the next turn after I T-Waved, I would T-Bolt, which would Thunderbolt does at least 30% to Manaphy, which puts him well and truly in range of +1 return from Altaria. So that was huge. That really turned that really turned the tides of this battle and really put me in a tough spot where he didn't have any reason to stay in with Manaphy versus my Rotom. So I can understand the switch out right here. He makes a switch out to Heliolisk, and Manaphy is at a really decent amount of health at this point. It can take an Earth Power from my Lando, and it can take a return from my Altaria. So we are in a pretty sticky situation right here. So right here, as you can see, he switches out to his Heliolisk, and you know, he eats up the T-Bolt. I'm just going to stay in a T-Bolt right here. If he wants to make the switch out to X, he can. I can just go into my Lando and survive an Iron Head and start Earth Powering. and I'll have my Rotom around for later on in the match. But he elects to stay in with his Heliolisk and sack it off to Life Orb Recall versus my Rotom, so that's okay. So at this point, I determined that he was max HP, max Speed F, X-Gut, and I was running calcs for a while. I was trying to figure out what my optimal play was. Do I switch into Lando and take the Iron Head, and just start Earth powering? But then I realized, if I do that, then Altaria is not going to get a chance to set up, because if it's a 50%, it'll die to an Ice Beam from Manaphy, because he is modest, and it will die to a hit from Greninja, because I have to take another turn of rocks. So the way I win here is Dragon Dancing up. If I Dragon Dance and I don't get crit by the Excadrill, I can take him out with a return. I can deal enough damage to the Manaphy that an Earth Power will be able to take him out, and then I can take the Greninja out with an Earth Power, provided he doesn't have Water Shuriken, and get like 3 or 4 hits with it. So we're banking on not getting a 3rd crit in a row. So let's see how it turns out. So right here, I do outspeed and I get the DD off. So this is looking nice, and he Iron Heads me there. He doesn't crit me, which is fantastic. So I was going to get a kill here, which is really nice. And he sends in the Manaphy. Now, as you'll see, Ult just fails to take him out. He lives on 12. So had I got that Thunderbolt off earlier, Ult would have got a nice little sweep there to finish up the game. But as you'll see, he fails to take him out, and it's up to Lando now. So I get the EQ off, and I'm looking pretty nice. Greninja, now it all comes down to whether he has Water Shuriken, and he doesn't, and Earth Power is enough to take him out. So there you guys have the match. It was a really exciting match. Hacks, played the crits really turned the tide, but it happens, and it really did make it more of an exciting game. So that was a really fun way to end the season, and I was happy that my Scarf Lander was still able to come through. I did identify at the beginning of the match to be a nice little win con for me, provided I took out or weakened some of his sort of checks to it, I guess you could say. And yeah, overall, look, it was a fun match. I've had a great regular season. I've really enjoyed it. And Noah, I think you played a really good game, man. And you brought, nothing on you. The hacks is completely out of your control, the crits and all that sort of stuff. Your spreads were really, really good. He revealed to me after the match that the Manaphy spread was made in order to take a return plus an Earth Power. Now, I don't know if that was like a Life Orb, modest Earth Power plus an Adamant return. I doubt it. But if it was like a Scarf Earth Power, because Manaphy's not taking that. If it was a Scarf Earth Power and a return, I can understand. That was very good prep on his part. As well as the Speed F Excadrill was nice for like a especially attacking Mega Altera. So yeah, his Life Orb attackers were able to do a lot of to pose a big threat to my team. They didn't really put in too much work because Lando had its way with Greninja, and then Rotom was able to take on 1v1 the Heliolisk, which is pretty nice. But they were great brings versus my team. So props to you, man. You brought a good team, and I think you played really well. Just to show that you don't deserve bottom spot, in my opinion. So you know what? Thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Pretty crazy game to go out on, and I look forward to bringing you guys the playoff matches when they come. As I mentioned earlier, we're chilling on the top seed. We've got either Juiced or TCMTL in second place. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think TCMTL may have taken Juice's second place spot due to Juice forfeiting his last game because he was sick, and he was already guaranteed in playoffs. So I don't know who is legitimately in the second place, but those two guys are in second and third respectively. And then we've got fourth place, the 4th seed spot taken by I think it's Ghost Flame, my first opponent that I played in the league. So I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it's him. So either way, guys, playoffs, we got 4 great players, so I'm really excited to bring you the matches and to see how we go. Hopefully we can make a run at the championship. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Drop a like if you did. Let me know what you thought of my team, how you thought the match went, and what you think my chances are in the playoffs. I'm sure Anthony will be dropping a nice supportive comment. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. Thanks.